back with another naturally obsessed look into basketball. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe button, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought about today's video. And as I always like to preface by saying, I am not a basketball expert. I'm just a fan who's naturally obsessed. And in today's video, we are going to go over where, in my mind, where we currently stand on a question that I made a video about prior to the NBA Finals beginning, and that's, with a fourth championship, would that be enough to launch Steph Curry into one of the 10 greatest basketball players in the history of basketball? It's a question that I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to. We all view the game of basketball differently. We all have different expectations that we set when considering who the greatest players of all time are. So if you don't, or if you do, I don't think you're wrong for either one. But I've been giving it a lot of thought, and in the video I made prior to the NBA Finals, I acknowledged how difficult of a decision this would be if Steph Curry did indeed win his fourth championship. Given it a lot of thought, and one of the primary reasons why I said this would be very difficult to decide is because whenever there's a list, kind of like all-star snubs, whenever you say, oh, so-and-so should have been an all-star, first question is, who are you putting them over? And in my top 10, I acknowledge that if I do indeed say that Steph Curry is a top 10 player all time, who am I taking out of my top 10 list? Given it a lot of thought, and I've had this discussion with a number of different people, number of different friends, bouncing some ideas around, and I've made a very, very difficult decision, and I am taking Wilt Chamberlain out of my top 10. And some of you are probably going to be like, oh, that's not ridiculous. And then there's probably a number of you being like, that's absolute blasphemy. I get it. Trust me when I say, even as I'm saying it right now, I'm thinking in my head, I can't believe what I'm saying. But I have to look at it and hold myself to the standards that I'd hope you all hold yourselves to. Integrity of unbiased. And try not to be a prisoner of the moment, because it's very easy. I saw people all over Twitter and social media. John Morant even made a tweet saying Steph is a top 5 player of all time. Let's not get crazy. That's absolutely ridiculous. But top 10, I don't think it's ridiculous at all. And the reason why it's so hard for me personally to take Wilt out of my top 10 is I've always had him and Bill Russell neck and neck. Always. And I even, in my previous top 10, I had Wilt number 9 and Bill Russell number 10. So a lot of you are probably going to be like, well, if Bill Russell was your number 10, why not take him off and put Steph there? Well, here is why. And the reason that I had Wilt ahead of Bill Russell is, for so many years, watching the game evolve, I truly do believe, and still do right now, that as far as how I view and rank my top 10, there's a number of different factors that goes into it, but we should all be able to acknowledge, if you're truly one of the all-time great basketball players, you'd be able to play in any era. The great ones would always find a way and be able to figure it out. So Wilt was over Bill Russell for me because I truly do believe that Wilt's game translates better to the modern era of NBA basketball than Bill Russell's did. Bill Russell, I think, would be a tremendous defender in today's NBA. No question about it. But with Wilt's defense and offensive game, I think he'd be able to translate much better in the modern NBA than Russell did. But when I make the decision to take Wilt out of my top 10, another factor that I look into is not only championships, which we know Bill Russell blows everyone away, but I'm not holding that necessarily as the factor, because if I primarily looked at championships, we can all acknowledge, well, then Bill Russell would be number one. I think the degree of difficulty to a championship has to be taken into consideration. Bill Russell was one of, if not the best player of that era, surrounded by some of the other best players of that era, and there weren't nearly as many teams to go through that played as high-level basketball as those Boston Celtics teams, when you only had to win 2 playoff series and you won a championship. You know what I mean? And that's nothing to take away from Bill Russell and the greatness and the legendary status that he holds in the world of basketball. That's not to take that away at all. But historic factor. Bill Russell, you can't even begin to talk about the greatness and the evolution of basketball without starting with Bill Russell and carrying on that story for a long, long, long time. Wilt holds individual records. It's tremendous. And he deserves to always and forever be talked about when you're talking about the all-time greats in basketball. But if I have to choose 10 players that I'm going to talk about the history of basketball, I have to go with Bill Russell over Wilt Chamberlain. So I took a little bit of time talking about that, a little more than I intended to, so I apologize. I know you guys are here for my top 10, so let's just get right into it. I'm going to give a little bit of brief reason why I have them ranked where I have them ranked, but I'm going to try not to go too long because we've already taken up a bunch of time. So my top 10, number 10 is Bill Russell. Number 9 is now Steph Curry. Steph Curry, a lot of people are going to make claims such as, well, he lost in the 73 win season. Up until this year, he wasn't even the best player on either of the finals teams, given all those years he played against LeBron, those years he was teammates with Kevin Durant. I get it, but my biggest defense in the case of Steph Curry when it comes to that, I truly do believe, and I think we were on pace to see this in that year against the Toronto Raptors when Kevin Durant went out. The only player, obviously losing 2 players, it wouldn't have made a difference, which they did when Clay also went out. But they could have lost KD, they could have lost Clay, they could have lost Draymond. I think if they lost just one of those players, they still would have won that series against the Toronto Raptors. However, if they lost Steph Curry but still had the other 3, they lose that series regardless. Steph Curry is and always was the most vital piece to the Golden State Warriors. The entire team is built around Steph Curry, and you guys already know all the accomplishments. The greatest shooter in the history of mankind. And the craziest thing is there's still room for him to run on this list, because at number 8, I have Shaquille O'Neal. In my opinion, the most dominant force in the history of basketball, even more so than Wilt Chamberlain. And I think the gap between Steph Curry and Shaquille O'Neal, that's small. I think it's completely possible that Steph Curry passes Shaquille O'Neal, in my eyes, next year. The gap is super, super small. I just cannot give it to Steph yet. At number 7, Tim Duncan. One of my favorite basketball players of all time, and that's me being a Phoenix Suns fan. All those years we lost against San Antonio. Tim Duncan is one of my favorite basketball players of all time. The most consistent basketball player I have ever seen in my life. Greatest power forward of all time. Reliable leader. Tim Duncan was incredible. He's number 7. Number 6, Larry Bird. 3 consecutive MVPs. Could make a strong argument that he was the beginning of the evolution of the three-point shot. No one shot like Larry Bird when Larry Bird first came onto the scene. You could make a strong argument without Larry Bird, we wouldn't have gotten people like Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, Steph Curry, Larry Bird, Larry Legend, incredible. Number 5, I have Kobe Bryant. Dog. Absolute dog. And not only did he do it offensively, but defensively as well. Gave you 100% effort on a night in, night out basis. I grew up hating Kobe Bryant as a Phoenix Suns fan, but as soon as I grew up a little bit, Kobe retired, gave us some time away from the sport. I truly grew to love and appreciate the great player and the great human being that he was. Number 4, Magic Johnson. I don't think there's any question about it. Not only greatest player to play the point guard position of all time, but the greatest quintessential point guard of all time. Did it all. Could play all 5 positions and play them well, similar to a LeBron James. In my opinion, no disrespect to Kobe Bryant whatsoever, but I think that Magic Johnson is the greatest Laker of all time, even more so than number 3, who's Kareem AbdulJabbar. Kareem was just, again, similar to a Shaquille O'Neal, similar to a Wilt Chamberlain. That skyhook was unstoppable. You knew it was coming and you still couldn't stop it. Very underrated for so many years. Yeah, he still got his all-star appearances, he still got his MVPs, but when he got to team up with Magic, beautiful. Those Showtime years were incredible. Number 2, LeBron James. I didn't think it was possible once upon a time for me to consider LeBron James better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but one day I had to face the reality, and I'm not saying that as a negative. A lot of people think because I have LeBron at number 2, that's disrespectful. Out of the thousands, tens of thousands of players that have ever played NBA basketball, I have you as the second best player out of all of them. All of them. That's not an insult. That's just me simply acknowledging that you are not better than one man. Michael Jordan. I don't care what happens. There is not a player right now, in my eyes, that can ever pass this man. And I'm going to say this right now as a caveat. I said the same thing as I said before. I didn't think LeBron would be able to pass Kareem. He did. I'm allowed to reevaluate my opinion down the line. And I might have to one day. But as I see it right now, there is not a single person playing basketball right now that has the ability to pass Michael Jordan for number 1 all time. So that's my top 10, guys. I know a lot of you have been watching this, shaking your head, disagreeing. I know some of you might agree, might make some tweaks here and there. Let me know in the comments down below. It's all friendly fun, right? We all view the game differently. It's never personal difference of opinion. Like I always say, I try to listen to you guys with an open mind, see if I can learn a thing or two. Because again, I'm not an expert, just a fan who's naturally obsessed. I appreciate you guys watching. Please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought about today's video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, guys.